Okay, so being the shadowy drain man that he is, Bladee is kind of shied away from, I don't know, interviews. There's not much public information out there about him, and so when I saw that The Guardian did a 2-hour conversation with him, I was super surprised. I knew I had to cover it because there's a lot of really interesting information that is included in here. You know, he talks about his aesthetic changing, he talks about near-death experiences, working with Charlie XCX, his childhood. I don't know, bro, trust me, you're gonna learn a lot of cool information about Bladee from this video. I only included like the quotes he gave, although there is a much longer article if you want to go read that, but I think this video will suffice it. In the meantime though, if you are new here, please drop a subscription, please drop a like. I'm trying to do these rap commentary videos as often as I can, and I would appreciate the support. It's the newest channel. Thank you. And yeah, let's just get into it. So it started with Bladee talking about how he was kind of having this fear of aging that was leading to a lot of anxiety. And so if you don't know, Bladee actually turned 30 years old this year in 2024 because he was born on April 9th, 1994. And so I don't know, as a lot of you know, aging is a bit scary, you know, like when I turned 20, I was like, it's like a life realization. And 21, it's like, damn, like now I can legally drink. Wow. And so Bladee kind of went through the same thing with 30, which is like a big age to get to, and especially being a music artist where it's kind of a young man's game, you know. A lot of the big artists are young, you know, in their 20s. And so when Bladee hit 30, he said that he and his Drain Gang peers, quote, permanently frozen as 20-year-olds because we came up at a certain time of our lives. He wondered, was he already past it at 29? So yeah, it seems to me like the interviewer was kind of implying that Bladee was having a bit of anxiety about getting older and thinking if his music career would sustain longer. But yeah, he also mentioned this on Cold Visions, the recent album, where he said, I got so old, I got embarrassed to even be here. And again, that's just a clear sign of the fear of aging, maybe the fear of death that a lot of people have. He also said, quote, I had a lot to get off my chest. I was thinking a lot about my position and I felt stuck. Do I have to be perceived as an artist to feel fulfilled? I'm chasing that, and it doesn't give me anything. So why am I doing this? And yeah, there he was talking about Cold Visions and how the album was kind of just like a poem or a diary for him to get a lot of his personal grievances out. And honestly, this quote here talking about, do I have to be perceived as an artist to feel fulfilled? And kind of the extreme length of Cold Visions, like hella songs, and him talking about how it was a diary. This low-key feels like an allusion to maybe him stepping back from music, at least a little bit. I mean, I'm not sure, and I hope not, but that's kind of how I'm interpreting it here. And yeah, it is a common thing where it's like, yo, like, do I really love what I'm doing? Is this really what my soul wants me to be doing, or am I just doing it for the money or the attention or whatever? And I guess that's something that a lot of us feel, and Bladee shares it as well. He also commented on the Charlie XCX Brat remix album, which he featured on alongside, you know, Billie Eilish, Ariana Grande. It was a huge look for his career, but he's so humble and cool that he said, quote, it's a Bladee verse, I did my thing, kind of modestly, you know, not even really going into the work that he did on the album. Whereas when speaking of Charlie XCX, he kind of took it to the next level, saying, I have eternal respect for her. She put me in this context with all these other people. I'm very grateful to be involved. And so yeah, he was obviously talking about being alongside literally some of the biggest pop stars in the world and getting a lot of new eyes to his name, a lot of new listeners to his music. And I'm sure it brought him some new fans as well. Here he talks about Cold Visions, really honest, more like a diary. Yeah, and that's what I mentioned earlier. And again, 30-song album, like that could be the end to the Bladee career, but probably not, because we've heard leaks and stuff lately. Then they talked about leaving year 0001, and that's a video that I actually covered pretty recently. So Young Lean and Bladee left their label. If you want to learn more about that, it's a pretty interesting story, honestly. So I'll put the card up here. But yeah, he said, quote, I don't really care anymore about being a bigger artist. The only thing that's important is that I'm doing something that's true to me. And again, Bladee goes into this theme of wanting to be true to himself and really love what he's doing in his life. And I guess he wasn't feeling fulfilled as a music artist, and especially being signed to that label where maybe their intentions were to get him as big as possible when his true goal was just artistry, you know? When you get the labels involved in businesses and money, investors, whatever, they want to get a return on their money. They want to generate as much money as possible. And that means making the artist as big as possible. But some artists don't want or need to get bigger, you know? He can live and survive comfortably off of the fan base he's built, merch, touring, you know, streaming, whatever. And he doesn't really need this super big amount of money to be happy, which is something that maybe the 30-year-old realization, you know, because it's just a lot of interesting stuff, you know. He also said, he talked about how the music first started with Drain Gang, Echo 2K and them. He said, I hated to hear my voice without the auto-tune. It's how we found our sound. Without it, we wouldn't have committed to doing it. It sounded too bad. And yeah, here he talks about the early Drain Gang influences, like the cloud rap vibes. I think they were talking about some Lil B and Chief Keef, who were obviously big influences to them. They also talked about Young Lean and the foundation of them back in 2014 when Lean was first starting to pop off, and Bladee actually quit his job at a kindergarten to join Young Lean on tour. Bladee talked about his music saying, I didn't understand why people liked my music. I thought there must be some kind of mistake, which is really funny to think. It's a low-key kind of an imposter syndrome thing where it's like, bro, like I'm just making music in my room, like, or with my friends or whatever. Why are there so many people resonating and enjoying the music? He also said things were building to a point, and also this was in reference to Miami, and I don't know if you guys know the Miami situation, you know, with Young Lean, Bear Mashat. He ended up passing away in a car crash, unfortunately. Bear Mashat did, and Bladee was there and present. You could see it in the In My Head documentary, and he spoke on it further here, saying things were building to a point where something was going to happen because of how we were living. We didn't think that anything could go wrong. We were so in this substances and rockstar lifestyle. Someone was probably always going to die with how we were moving. It was very reckless, but we were so young. We just didn't know. And yes, here they're referring to, you know, all the stuff they were popping, drinking, smoking, whatever. And clearly they were not living a very healthy lifestyle. And unfortunately it ended in the loss of a life. So clearly Bladee is kind of torn up about it, but he says it was bound to happen with the lifestyle that everyone was living, but they were young and reckless. And he spoke on it again, saying, I was not really okay. And he was kind of suffering from PTSD and struggling to process Mashat's death, as well as Young Lean being in rehab for his like deteriorating mental health. Like he was in there for months. I think that's where he wrote Stranger, which is probably one of my favorite albums of all time. Definitely my favorite Young Lean album. He also continued speaking about his successful life as a rapper. I sometimes felt like I shouldn't be here, so I have to do what everyone says. I didn't understand that I had any value in the situation. I didn't understand why people would like my music. I thought there must be some kind of misunderstanding. But now I've done it for so long and I actually know what I'm doing. I believe more in my ability. And here he's commenting on a few things. First off, the business, where he's saying, I was able to be taken advantage of and being told what to do by the label or the manager or whatever, because he didn't actually have any true knowledge of the music industry or any real confidence in himself even to think that people would enjoy his music without these other people telling him what to do, how to move, how to craft his image and sound or whatever. And that's something that we can take away from this interview as well, you know, like everyone has value. You provide value at your job or in your school or wherever, so you can't let people like undermine that or take advantage of you. And it all comes down to believing in your ability and being confident in what you provide, which is kind of what Bladee talked about coming into recently. Then this is honestly the most interesting part of the article in my opinion, or I don't know, there's a few interesting things. This one's definitely up there though. And he said the person who wrote the article was speaking about how Blade's persona was always kind of semi-spiritual. Like there was always a little bit of a spiritual aspect to it, but there was a huge change in like 2019 or early 2020, and the music started to shift, the lyrics started to shift, and fans were always wondering why that was. And some think that it was because of this lightning strike in Thailand, which was like a near-death experience, and they think it could have caused some transformation in his mind, like some spiritual awakening or something. I actually did an Instagram post about it before, and I think it's pretty interesting, so check out the Instagram. I post a lot of cool content there. But Bladee actually spoke on this situation here, saying, quote, either I had a random seizure from seeing the lightning or I got struck by it. Whatever it was, something definitely changed around that time. So this is again confirmation that Bladee actually did have a real spiritual experience from that Thailand lightning strike. Like, it wasn't just a coincidence or timing. Like, that was actually a real event that caused a change in his music and his outlook on life even. So I mean, that's honestly, like, bro, that's like a crazy story. Like, that could literally be from a movie. Like, they need to make a film about this. He also spoke about Echo 2K and how they were making music since they were young. So yeah, if you didn't know, he had a punk band with Echo 2K, like when they were in elementary school or something, like very young. And after seeing someone with a studded leather jacket, he thought, I want to be like that. But you need to find yourself within all that. So yeah, here he's talking about uniqueness and really finding your image. You can't just jack a style, you know? You gotta like make it your own. And again, the Bladee lifestyle, like the Bladee image is kind of punkish, although he takes it to another level with the colors and, you know, the different styles of clothing and stuff. Like it's pretty clear that it does come down to the punk stuff at the bottom of it, but he definitely made it his own, and it's really cool to me. He also spoke about Drain Gang and Echo, saying, we still don't feel like someone is doing what we're doing better. I would love to hear someone take it to the next level with a new perspective, someone young. I feel like that's the point of it. You can keep the idea going. And yeah, he's talking about the music scene. He kind of thinks, maybe he's saying that it's kind of dry right now, and there's not really much new, fresh sounds coming out. And that's a big like idea that's going around. People are always saying, oh, everyone these days in the underground is, you know, a derivative of Young Lean or Bladee or like Bones or, you know, Lil B. Like, they're saying that a lot of the new sounds are kind of just biting off of who came before them. And while that is true to an extent, I do think that there are a lot of cool, interesting artists who aren't just straight up cloning people who came before them. You know, I mean, just off the top of my head, Net Spend doesn't really have a super like you can't attach him to one singular artist, you know? He has his own image, and although he has a lot of auto-tune and a bit of a Bladee influence, I say, it's not like super apparent. Who else? I don't know. Jades, although with recent news, we might not want to talk about him anymore. I don't know. There's a lot of cool underground artists out there. If you want to learn more, follow the Instagram, like I said, SADBRT, or just stay tuned on this channel. Again, he was talking about... Actually, Nespen definitely has a Bladee influence because he sampled, what was that song? He sampled Missing Person on Yo, I believe. I'm trying to think. I think it was Missing Person, right? Whatever. But yeah, Nespen, definitely a Bladee fan, which is cool. He also talked about his Cold Visions album and then spoke about his future. I want to become a better person, he says with a sweetly earnest laugh. I want to have a brighter outlook and work on liking myself more. I'm sick of thinking about myself. I would like to be more outside of my head. He said he's been sick all the time for years, and now he's trying to be sober and healthy. Lately he's been experimenting with songwriting in Swedish, which is kind of similar to what Young Lee did with the Jonathan Lindoer project. And he's also been working on abstract paintings in his art studio, which, I mean, the work is beautiful. It's actually like my Safari home screen is this painting. Like, he has a lot of cool physical art, and I think he makes some of his album cover art himself even. Ultimately though, he finds solace in the act of creating. Even in my sadder music, I'm striving for joy. And yeah, it's just like, I don't know, man. Bladee just sounds like a lot of us. Like, he's just really trying to find his purpose and find what he's on this earth to do. And honestly, it sounds to me like music, at least recently, has not been that thing. Or at least the Bladee persona. Like, maybe this Swedish music that he's been writing will, under his own name, maybe that will be like a real reference of his life and what he wants to do on earth. And then there's a physical art as well. And I mean, he literally said straight up, like, I don't care to be a bigger artist. I'm not worried about growth. I just want to do whatever makes me happy and whatever makes the people around me happy. And I guess, I mean, we'll see what that'll be. But listen, I'm in the bit of a creative field, you know, YouTube or whatever, social media, but the way he's speaking definitely sounds like he wants to take a long break and really focus on himself, or at least pivot. And like, I don't know, the Jonathan Lindoer thing is the closest idea of what the Bladee music will be, in my opinion. Check that music out if you haven't. It's kind of like folky, super introspective, and it's cool. And hopefully we'll get some Bladee. I think, we'll get some Bladee, Benjamin Reichwald music soon. That would be really cool, honestly. I'm there for it. Thank you for watching this far though. If you did, drop a comment saying, yo, sad part. I have cold visions about you every night. Or something fun, okay guys? Thank you for watching though. Drop a like, drop a subscription, and peace.